waiting.
Somebody did what?
Wait. Well, I clicked go live. Hold on. It's
Oh,
it's having issues. An error occurred. That's good.
great.
Go live. And we're live. Take two. And it worked. First didn't work. Thank you, Laura, for being here on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
Sunday Night Live. We are doing this a little bit differently. If you're listening, you would not know this, but we are usually recording podcasts on Wednesdays for the last 3 or 4 years now. Sunday night, because I will be gone out of the office on Wednesday. I mentioned it this morning. I'll be down in Columbus with campus outreach folks. So recording this on a different time, and Laura was kind enough to be here. And we thought that for the final episode of 2022, to spend some time reflecting on the past year. We'll do a little bit of that, not a whole lot, but the majority of the time looking ahead to 2023 and things that excite us about it. Not doing too much time looking back because we do a ministry and review doc. Laura, I'll throw this to you. Generally speaking, what can people expect in a ministry review doc?
Yeah. We do a lot of stats on things. So how many people are in life groups? How many people, like on average, how many kids came to VBS?
How many
Things like that.
baptisms? Yeah.
Yeah. Average, like what was the giving this year? What's the budget breakdown? What percentage of the budget went to each ministry? Things like that tend to be in our ministry and review. And we try to put stories too. So
Yep.
when there's just neat ministry stories that some of the ministry leaders have submitted to us, we include those as well.
Yeah, so sort of a maybe 10 to 12 page document of a snapshot of the previous year. And that usually comes out in January because we have to get the end of the year information. And so we have that. And so that'll be a place for people to see a lot of what we're celebrating looking back. A couple of things that won't necessarily be in there that excited me is of one of our longtime members, Will McCabe, was ordained in the EPC as a pastor and is now serving at a church up near Buffalo, New York. That all happened in the fall. We also had a member who I think moved right when I got here. Was that when the Felraths moved down to the Dayton area, Josh Felrath?
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure when they moved.
Yeah, it was somewhere near there because I remember at a couple of Presbyterian meetings, he was like, hey, I knew you, but I left right away for a job. And he's now ordained down there in the EPC as well. And so that's neat. Some of our former members becoming pastors in our denomination. I also really enjoyed, Laura, I think you were there as well. The mission celebration dinner was a great time. For me, and Laura, you can share what you enjoyed about it. But for me, it was the seeing the variety of Gateway folks who went on a missions trip. That it is not like a one size fits all kind of person goes on a missions trip. All age demographics. It was just great. What'd you enjoy about it?
Yep, I would agree with that. It's neat to hear different stories of what impacted people on the trips. And then they also did kind of a preview of what's coming up, what trips are coming up in 2023, which was also neat. I'm just glad that in 2022 and going into 2023, we're back to where we can actually do more trips because during COVID that was definitely had slowed down a lot, and so it's just nice to see that momentum going again and to see so many people excited to go, and even people who can't physically go that still want to be a part of what's going on. So.
And there's as we're recording this, a Cuba missions trip meeting is happening, I think, at our North Main campus. And Matt Heft was telling me 10 or 12 or 14 people or somewhere around there are going to be at the meeting for sort of an initial meeting. Is your cat trying to get in?
Yes. I did some Christmas decorating today, and I put like a little bell thing on the door.
Okay.
I wasn't really thinking about recording this podcast tonight, and so he's batting at the bell on the door.
I cannot hear it, but I'm reading your eyes.
My phone is next to me. I'm thinking I need to text Matthew, like, can you come take that bell off the door?
Well, it's only distracting to you, not to me. One final thing to mention, and this a lot of this will be in the ministry and review. But some of the summer events, summer quickly happens, and then you can kind of get in the school swing of things and forget. But VBS was great to be back. Just was really great time. Did some block parties. Still figuring out, best locations, when it's going to be a best way to take sort of VBS out into the community. But I appreciate the idea of doing both models, not putting all your eggs in one basket, but also not saying that there's only one way to reach the community. And so those were fun times. VBS in particular is a very exhausting and tiring week, I think, for everyone, but a good kind of tired. So anything you want to mention from looking back, or do you want to get to looking ahead?
We can go ahead and look ahead. Yeah. So I was thinking about mission trips I was going to mention, but you already brought that up. So
very good.
What are you looking forward to?
So I have a 4-page list of things I'm looking forward to.
All right.
In 2023. Some of these will be I think they'll build on each other as far as like my excitement level, but we'll just start like something that probably I'm a bit biased. I'm really excited about the preaching calendar and the guests that we have scheduled already. We have some weekends open for other guests, but we'll be starting off the year with the 10 Commandments, which should be a fun time in the Old Testament. And I'm really excited. Some of the folks at Gateway who like to do woodworking stuff are really jumping in and designing some stuff for that series. We'll spend the majority of the year in the book of First John. Just still, as we come out of the tough 2 years of the pandemic years, fellowship, community, connecting to others is still something that I think we're I think just like as humanity still figuring out. And so the book of First John is all about loving one another and fellowship and stuff. And so that'll be good time to spend in there. And then finally, it'll be about 7 years to the date. I will finally get my mentor in ministry, Carl House, to come here to preach for us. He'll also be leading in a Quip class on Saturday for us. Carl and I have been doing monthly phone calls for over 11 years now. And so I'm excited for people at Gateway to meet him, because he may be like, I think for you or for some others who know that I talked to this mysterious Carl, that finally you will see that he's actually a real flesh and blood person. And then near the end of the year, we're going to be starting the final section of books of the Old Testament for our Finding Jesus series. We've done the law, we've done the major prophets, minor prophets, we've done the wisdom literature, and all that's left are the history books. And so there are 12 books left in the Old Testament. And that's been sort of one of my goals, to have a sermon on every book in the Old Testament, because I know of the two testaments, the Old Testament is usually the harder one to understand and to know what's going on. And so just as a resource, to have a sermon as a resource on every book in the Old Testament has been a goal that I've wanted to have for Gateway for some time. So I'll be happy that we won't finish it. We'll finish it in early 2024, but we will start the end of the Finding Jesus series. So that's where I wanted to begin preaching, a little bit selfishly there.
I'm also excited. I'll just pipe in. I'm also excited for the non-Josh series that elders and some staff
I won't be offended.
On the well, it is nothing personal. I'm just excited about the series about on the names of God. So I think that'll be good.
Yeah, that'll be a good way to tie in. This year we've done their sort of life verses. We've done the Psalms in the past. And so always find a way to try and keep non-Josh weeks tied together in some way. Then we'll move on to the next thing that excites me. Knox Seminary. We've talked about them for years now. We've been partnering with them. We've done podcast interviews with different faculty. We've had the president and another staff member come here and preach and do Saturday seminars. That's going to continue into 2023. Dr. Larry Trotter is going to be with us in February, and he will preach. He was a missionary in Mexico for 20-something years. And so I think his Sunday sermon is going to be on missions, which very much fits Gateway. But he is also a professor at Knox Seminary. And when I asked the president of Knox about, hey, I need somebody who would be like an expert on the Westminster, but not be like super nerdy about it, because I want to convince people that this is a good document, something that we need to know. And he said Larry was the guy. And so he's going to do a Saturday seminar on the Westminster Confession of Faith, why that's important. The reason why we're picking that topic is because that's what the elders are going to be studying this next year. They're going to be studying the Westminster Confession. And so we'll figure out how to maybe do that in the podcast, like we've done other book studies. But I'm excited about Larry coming here. But even more than that, we have a prayer to raise up the next generation of pastors and church leaders. And in 2023, I asked you, Laura, to figure out if we can set aside some money in our budget for 2023 as a scholarship for Knox seminary courses. And we were able to do that. And so the way it'll work is that a student will cover a third of the cost of their class, Gateway will cover a third, and Knox will cover a third. And so if you've had an interest in the seminary classes, but have thought, I'm not quite sure if I have the financial ability to do that, hopefully this will be something you will consider. Obviously, the funds are limited, but there is at least enough set aside to begin a conversation with anyone who is interested in pursuing a seminary education. You may wonder, who is this for? Active members of Gateway. We are going to have a bit of a priority, meaning if somebody is thinking full-time pastoral ministry, being a pastor, being on church staff, those who are serving in Gateway leadership roles, if you're maybe an elder or you're a life group leader, something like that, there are things that you have to be eligible from Knox's point of view in order to be a student there. But I just want to make sure that people know that we are taking this seriously to raise up the next generation of pastors and church leaders. And I'm taking it seriously. And so it's not going to start off mandatory, but I am making myself available to this group of students, that if they have questions, they need someone to talk through what they're learning because they just don't understand it. Maybe they need like a little bit more of an in-person feel. I'm going to make myself available because we really want to commit to this prospect of raising up the next generation. And so if you're interested in that, you get excited about that, contact the church office for more information, because we want to start not just setting aside the funds, but using the funds, investing the funds in the next generation of church leadership. So I'm really excited about that after talking about Knox and trying to get it going. Looking forward to people taking advantage of that.
Yep. I'll pipe in one thing about that too.
Okay.
Because you had shared with me a little brochure that
Knox puts out.
Yeah, I forget who brought it. Tim Sansbury maybe brought it earlier this year. Anyways, it shows, like, sometimes we think the only people that may go to Knox are people who want to get an MDiv, like want to become pastors or something. But this brochure shows like several certificates, ministry certificates that you can get that are not as many hours as an MDiv would be or a doctorate would be. And then it even kind of spells it out, like this would be really great if you're a small group leader, or this would be really great if you are an elder or something like that. And so I've actually contacted Knox. They're supposed to be sending me some more of those so that we have those available. I also have it digitally so we can just print some more if they can't find them. So it sounded like they had to hunt for them. So I don't know if they'll find any to send us or not, but.
Yeah. And so again, for anybody listening, the idea is that if you're a life group leader, they have maybe these 6 courses are what are best going to help you. If you're an elder, maybe it's these 6 courses because of your role in the church. And they have that broken down. So wherever you are serving and whatever that capacity is, there's a pathway. So you're not just randomly taking classes. This is going to help you be more equipped for whatever role you're serving in. So excited about that. I had that pamphlet sitting on my desk. I actually got it at General Assembly was where I found it.
Oh, okay.
It was at the table for the lunch there. And I had it sitting here in a pile waiting until budget time, because I knew that was like the piece of literature that cast the vision for setting aside those money.
It cast the vision to me. I liked it. So.
Yeah. So excited about that. Let's see what else we got going on. Some of this next one has already started. John, our director of communications and worship, a couple months ago, I had read a book on communications and in the church, and there's a lot about social media there. We've known that there has been potential for growth in social media for quite a while. And so through reading that book and reading a couple others, we had a couple of conversations, you, me, and John, which then trickled down to conversations with the entire communications team. And there's been a lot of progress already made with what's happening on Instagram. And I'm now seeing that like a quote from today's sermon was already posted on Instagram, and with our app, like a push notification of usually the benediction goes out. And so they've really sort of upped what we're doing on social media. And I'm just looking forward to more and more of that happening, because there is a community that can be developed on our social media channels, that they're working towards doing that. I just look forward to what that means as far as more information being available, more places to get information. I've been excited about, how we ask for prayer requests, and we have a different ways that we do that. But now even on Instagram, we can ask for prayer requests there, and people are responding on that platform, and they might not respond on the Connect card. And so just both ways of communication I've been excited about, but looking forward to more growth in that area. We've shifted some staff responsibilities to focus more on that. And again, the strides that they've made since September have been great. And I just look forward to more of that. Laura, I know that you are a social media guru. Any of that excite you?
If they're looking for, they always like take a little picture to put from our podcast. The face I just made would be a good one. Like, I am not a social media guru.
Yeah.
However, this isn't exactly social media, but the Bible app has recently come out where you can like set Gateway as your church, and they have a little bit of a social aspect to it. And so we had promoted a couple weeks ago an Advent reading plan that people can join and kind of read along. And so I've been doing that, and I've really enjoyed the comments that have been shared about that. And it's like a little social community. I think there's 52 of us doing it. And so even just that is kind of neat. And I think we have plans to do more of those in 2023. Just different reading plans that if you want to read along with other people in the church, you can sign up and do that. And those are neat.
Nope, that's neat. So if you're on YouVersion, find somewhere in the settings where you can set your church, and then that makes it easier. Where if we want to promote a Bible reading plan for everybody to do, you'll get notified. And just another way, again, to connect. I've been doing Bible reading plans with my kids for a while now, and it is fun to see their comments, to see their thoughts, just to know that you're interacting with others, even if you may not be face to face with them. Laura, this next one sort of was an idea that I threw your way, and you've taken a lot of lead on it. And so I hope you're excited about it. I am excited about it. And this is, I guess we're landing with conversations with leaders. It looks like that's did you put that in there?
I think that's where we landed, at least for now. That's what we're going to call it.
And so what's the idea of this?
So the idea is we know that in a large church, sometimes you may have questions or you may have concerns about things, and maybe you don't know who to go to, or you don't really know quite how to ask the questions. Maybe you're not even sure if anybody is going to listen or wants to listen. And so we wanted to have a few opportunities. Right now we have 3 on the calendar for 2023, just opportunities for anybody who wants to come out. You can ask any questions you want about like why a certain ministry does what they do, or whatever. I don't even know what questions.
No questions are off limits.
No questions are off limits. But we basically just want people to know, like, we're open to questions as staff and leadership. We're open to questions. We don't want to make it difficult for you to get the information that you want or that you might need. And so, we're going to try and it's not something we're going to have mandatory for staff to be at, but we will try to have some key leaders present, some elders present, and to just, answer questions, have conversations about ministry and what's going on at Gateway, and store up your questions.
Yeah. So be looking for one, like kind of first quarter, when it's still wintry out, and then one in the spring, and then probably one in the fall. It's just like a way of thinking about when these will be. And again, more informal. We just know that again, in a larger church, it's not as easy to maybe find the answer, or find the staff member who you would go to find the answer. We realized that staff members, it is pretty common here to change roles and responsibilities.
Yeah.
And so we just want to make sure that we're as best we can, like tearing down the wall so that it's easier to get over to find whatever information you want to need, because we're available. But anytime you can send in a question and we'll get back to you and try and answer it as best we can. But we just want to make these in-person opportunities available as well. This next one that I'm excited about is something we've been doing for a while, but Hang with Hansons, we call it around here. And we've been doing a few like annual Hang with Hansons events, mainly the Memorial Day Parade, which all started very organically. My family was here the first year. We stood in front of the post office, and a couple of Gateway families who knew us gathered with us. And then the next year, more families gathered with us. We didn't promote it. And then I remember thinking, hey, we should probably promote this, because I'm sure that there are other Gateway families right around here, and they may be seeing that we're all gathered together, but they don't know if it's like,
I don't know if they're invited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we just started promoting it. And then, that happens at Memorial Day. And then we've done the Suitors Farm corn maze and had always a bunch of different families come out with us. That usually happens, in September or October. Well, this past year, as I was just going around thinking about what are more ways to connect with people and give them an opportunity to connect with me, I thought, man, there are some other like Hancock County, Findlay area things that my family's doing. And it's kind of like other families are doing it too. So why can't we just figure out a way to say, if you want to do it together, we're going to be there. You're going to be there. And so the county fair is something that we're looking at. The Balloon Festival is another one that people are always at. Those two are pretty close together. Like they're within, I would guess, a month of each other. And so that ends up with like, you got those two and Suitors Farm all like in the same time of the year. So here's what I don't know. Those are the only ideas I have. So I'm going to ask anybody who's listening to send into the church, let us know, what are other ideas that you would think would be fun for Hang with the Hansons? We've thought about Toledo Zoo. Don't know if that's too far away for people to do. There's a cost to it. We've talked about meeting up at a local park for a picnic, but I understand that my ideas can often be very lame. So listeners, help us out. What are some Hang with the Hanson ideas that you would like us to consider trying to get on our calendar so that we can hang out with you and you can hang out with us? But we're going to definitely promote some more opportunities for you to come and hang out with me and my family, or I should at least say, whichever of my kids are available who are not working or doing some sort of college activity. But so that'll be coming up. Watch for more of those in 2023. And then the last one, I think, is the best one. And we weren't sure if Sean was going to be able to pop in tonight or not, but it's not normal work time for him. And this is some things to expect, some tweaks, some changes for the podcast starting in 2023. And something that we've been hearing for a while is that of a desire to hear more stories. A lot of the Acts series that we recently did, a lot of feedback was about the stories that people heard, stories that I shared of what people are doing here at Gateway. And just as we've been hearing that, I've been trying to think of what's like the 21st century, the 2023 version of the testimony time, in the old church service. We're a multi-site church. We have multiple services. And so like, how do you do that in a way where everybody gets to hear the person's story? And I was just thinking one day, that would be the podcast. Like this is the podcast that goes out to the whole church. It can be listened to at any time. And so we were talking about like, how can we get stories told on the podcast in a way that's interesting for people to listen to, in a way that makes the person being interviewed comfortable, and it's got a creative element to it. There's been a few podcasts that have sort of been like a storytelling sort of mood to them or tone to them. And so I started throwing this idea around by Sean, because I thought he was the person with the tech skill sets and the creative mindset to pull this off. And so we've tasked him with starting a stories of Gateway, or what's your story? I don't have any idea what it's even be called, but about once a month, you're going to get a podcast episode getting to hear the story of what God is doing in and through someone's life who's a part of Gateway Church. And so I'm excited for Sean to start running with that idea and telling stories. This is in response, again, to hearing from you. You want to hear stories. We want to tell them. And we've been telling stories through, the announcements and some other things, but we realized that you got to be here for that. And it's a limited time we have. And so looking forward to seeing what Sean produces with his creative mind to help tell stories from here at Gateway. You may wonder then, well, what does that mean for the Gateway podcast that you have come to know and love and expect? And here's what's going to happen with that. We are assigning Sean to go tell the stories, and we want to free his time up for that. And so the episodes that you've been used to, sort of we are up in the loft together, those are going to come to an end. But what we're going to do instead is start at this time slot on Sunday nights, tentatively on January 15th, Sunday nights live with me and Laura for most of them, and maybe a few others, and do what we were doing, but now do it live. And here's why. You send in your questions about the sermon. We record our responses, if we're being good boys and girls, that Wednesday. Sometimes it's like a Wednesday a year from when you sent it in. Our apologies. but we try to do it on the Wednesday. Sometimes they slip through the cracks. The Wednesday after you send it in, and that podcast doesn't get released till the next Tuesday after I've already preached another sermon that you've asked questions about. And your life groups have already met, and you've discussed that sermon that you had questions about. And so we found this platform that we can stream live, and it records. Right now we're on YouTube and Facebook. And if you wanted to, we got some people watching, you could post a comment in Facebook or YouTube, wherever you are, and we could post it up here. We could respond to it right away. And so we're thinking that if we do this on Sunday nights, live at 6 p.m., we can get to your questions about the sermon in a more timely manner, help life groups have better discussions about the sermons. If your life group meets on Sunday night, maybe your life group starts off watching the live podcast episode, send in your questions, we respond, and then you go off and do the rest of your discussion. But we're just trying to make this a little bit more real-time responses from us about your questions, especially regarding the sermon. We'll answer other questions that you have about the faith. We'll do all of the stuff that you've come to know and love. But we just thought that we would switch this to Sunday nights at 6 p.m. and see how that goes. We'll do it as an experiment and see how it goes. And then you'll still be able to listen to it post live wherever you like to listen to the podcast. And so hopefully that will help this be a more timely resource for all of you who are discussing the sermons and yet had a question that you were waiting to answer that didn't get answered as early as possible. Laura, anything excite you about doing this live, or maybe terrify you as your cat scratches at the door?
Well, I'll figure a few things out that maybe will make it a little bit easier. Maybe Smokey won't be so tempted to come in.
Jingle the bell.
I am kind of excited about the fact that it will be a little bit more interactive too, because sometimes somebody asks a question, I read it, you answer it. But I'll be honest, sometimes the way you answer it, I'm like, that's not how I took the question. I thought they meant something different. And so if that happens, and
you can respond
and say, no, that isn't really what I meant, or thank you very much, or, whatever. So I like the fact that it can be a little bit more interactive. If I were you, I would be very nervous, not knowing the questions ahead of time. But if it's about the sermon, you just preached it, your stuff. So that's all good. Other random questions that may come in could be interesting, but
it's
you answer them, not me. So
this platform has quite the expansive possibilities, meaning we could start off with just people typing in questions on Facebook or YouTube, and we bring them up. There is the option of calling in, because we have that number that people text to, and we could make that where people could hear their question, like we could hear them over, everybody listening could hear the question, and so it becomes more like like on the radio when people would call in. Yeah, all kinds of interesting opportunities here. But yeah, making it more interactive. I'm probably 60% excited, 40% nervous about it being live. It's been a while since I've done live, and so my brain is older. It doesn't quite fire as quickly on all cylinders as it used to. So we'll see how it goes. But Laura, I may throw a question your way, so you better be ready.
My brain's even older than yours, so
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Thanks
yeah,
for
you like
reminding
to
me of that.
remind me of that. So
Yep. So those are some things that I'm excited about. Anything, Laura, that I didn't mention about 2023 that you are excited about? It's okay if not. I just threw that at you.
yeah, I think you hit the highlights.
Well, there you go. Everybody, thanks for tuning in this year. Thank you for sending in your questions, helping us to have stuff to talk about, because I forget how far are we in, 130 something
I don't
episodes.
even remember anymore.
Yeah, and believe it or not, I run out of things to say unless you keep sending in questions to ask. And so hopefully going into 2023, this will be a little bit more fun, a little bit more interactive. If you're watching online, again, promoting the sort of the socialness to social media, that people feel more comfortable sending in their questions, talking, interacting with us instead of just watching us. It'll be good to see where that leads. This is the last episode of 2022. And so, again, we're going to take a break, and then we'll be live on January 15th. And you'll be able to find these as events both on Facebook and YouTube. We're going to be looking at some other platforms to stream on as well. But if you're watching for the events, you can just set whatever reminders you want, and then you'll be able to follow us there. So if you're not following us on Facebook or on YouTube, maybe do that before January 15th, and we will be back with you then. Thanks, Laura.
Yep.